Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 100 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And today on our show, it's going to be a good one. Not only did the Blue Jays just welcome in the AL East or the NL East leading Atlanta Braves, and we swept them. They got a reason now to celebrate. We're having a reason to celebrate over here on Buds and Blue Jays because this is our first real milestone, hitting 100 episodes. So we're going to talk about all that. Plus, we've got a little game for us to play and for the viewers at home that we're going to get into later in the episode. Riley, how are we feeling, man? 100 episodes of doing this Buds and Blue Jays.
And I still don't know a lick about baseball or most of the game anyways. Hey, Jesse, when we started this, man, it was it's a stressful thing. You know, you want to sound good, you want to sound intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't necessarily think we always sound too intelligent, me anyways. Baseball's a fun game. You can pick it apart a lot of different ways. And it's forced me to, not only watch the games, because Jesse, we both love to watch baseball, but it kind of shown me to kind of look, read between the lines either. It's really kind of made me look into all these players, man, whether it's the 26 guys that are currently on this roster, guys in the minor leagues, guys that have been traded away and maybe signed with other teams since. It's good. The MLB is a fantastic league. And obviously, with the departure in 2004, 2005 with the, Montreal Expos to Washington, as Canadian kids, Jesse, Toronto's our only team. It's our only in for, Major League Baseball. We're diehard Blue Jays fans. We haven't won a championship since 1993, and we're thirsty for one. And I mean, I hope it doesn't take us until we're sitting here with gray in our beards, talking about what World Series winner. We'd like to bring you guys that fantastic news, obviously. But our goal here, is to have fun and, tell it how it is, whether that's our part of, what we think, how the game went. I think there's, probably people who disagree with our takes. And I think that there's a lot of people that agree. And, we always get positive feedback. And that's a really good thing. I know we still got a small community here, but it's a good community. And we really, appreciate everyone who watches these videos and
100%.
All the positive feedback we always get, because it's really, really nice to hear, the kind words and everything like that.
Yep. This show would not be possible if it wasn't for you viewers, you listeners at home, getting us to 100 episodes. So give yourselves a little thumbs up and a pat on the back for doing what you do. Here's to 100 more, Riley. Let's get to it. But with that being said, Riley, we have a lot to get to on this episode, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the game recaps here. And the Blue Jays, I remember coming into the series, Riley, on our last episode, you said, ooh, Atlanta's tough. They're a really good team. It's going to be hard. We might only win one game. Well, the Blue Jays said, nah, screw it. We're the best. We're going to win all three, and that's exactly what they did. In game one of the series, Chris Bassitt came to the mound, set the tone through a complete game shutout, the first that the Blue Jays have had without giving up any runs since 2015. And they were dynamite. The Jays got 3 runs across, but it was just enough as the Blue Jays win 3-0 in this game. Game 2, this place was a come-from-behind win. Jose Barrios gave up 2 runs early, but then the Blue Jays battled back, scoring a single run in the 4th and the 5th before taking the lead late in the 7th inning with the big home run there. And Jordan Romano nailed down the save to get that game done there. And in game 3, the game that took place this afternoon, this was a wild game. Win expectancy chart is off the charts in this one. The Blue Jays end up with a final score. I believe it was 6-5 was the final score. The Blue Jays scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th there to get the walk-off win thanks to a Danny Jansen single. This was a sloppy game, Riley, as we'll get into later, but 5 errors aside from both teams. Both teams looked like they wanted to throw away the victory, but hey, all that matters is the scoreboard at the end of the game, and the Blue Jays got the win with thanks to some good bullpen performances and some timely hitting from our hitters. So after this series, Riley, the Blue Jays stand with a record of 24-16. We are 6 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays, still 3rd in the division and still sitting in that second wild card spot. But Riley, a lot of stuff to talk to. So many interesting points. Where are we going first from this Blue Jays series?
Well, it's got to be game 1, man. You want to talk about a great thing for a guy to do at this point in the year. And that's, you said it, man, setting the tone in game 1 was Chris Bassitt with a fantastic complete game shutout, something that has not been done for far too long. As far as I'm concerned, we know that complete games, and let alone complete game shutouts, are a huge rarity. Well, our guy did it. Chris Bassitt, this is his second of his career, believe it or not, for that shoddy Oakland A's team in 21. He had a complete game shutout back then. So this is the second of his career, actually. And I mean, believe it or not, I mean, he's a guy who's getting better with age. Do I think that he will replicate what he has done with the New York Mets last year? I totally believe so. His numbers on the season are absolutely fantastic. I do not have them in front of me, though I was staring at them for a good 15 minutes just yesterday. And I believe that is Chris Bassitt going to put up numbers where he will, get Cy Young votes? Maybe not first place Cy Young votes, but he's certainly a competitor, man. This guy's a fine wine. And like, what else can you say, man? When you go out there and give up 2 hits and 2 walks and just shut the door on him, I believe 8 strikeouts to his line as well. Like, those are some crooked numbers, Jesse. I mean, you can't. It's been a while, like, since this has happened, and it's from. I'm not gonna lie. Like, as much as I like Bassitt and I know what he can do, I know what he did with a bad Oakland A's team, and now he's on a very good Toronto Blue Jays team. We put 3 runs in front of Chris Bassitt, which is not a ton of run support. If Chris Bassitt, decides to let things go in the 9th inning, we're in big trouble, and the Braves are still very much in that ball game. But he locked it down, dude.
He did. Yep.
Huge kudos to him. Not the guy you would expect. And I believe, Jesse, that maybe this will be his only complete game shutout on the season, and I would be totally fine with that. But I mean, his numbers this year, I think, are going to be very, very good. He is the perfect 3 guy for us. Hey, he got off to a real rocky start for us. And you know what?
Yes,
there's probably going to be another blow up at some point. But I mean, Jesse, you got to love what you saw on Friday with this guy. And it absolutely set the tone. And I'm expecting a lot more good things from Chris Bassitt. He for sure gets the first thumbs up in this, man. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer. Huge accomplishment, man. And and his next start, I hope he keeps riding that, for a couple more weeks, a couple more starts, because it was an absolutely great outing for him.
Yeah, we talked about it too. This is kind of what Chris Bassitt did last year with the Mets. Like, if you look at his overall line, he had two or three real bad starts, whereas like 7 or 8 earned runs, but the rest of them, he was quite solid. And Chris Bassitt is following that blueprint almost to a T so far. I have some numbers on Chris Bassitt and the significance of the shutout he got here, but he has a 1.97 ERA in his last 7 starts. He's 5-1 in those 7 starts, for what it's worth. He's thrown 20 straight scoreless innings, Riley, and he's got that dog in him, the hound, Chris Bassitt. And to go along with the big shutout here, this is the Blue Jays' first shutout with 2 hits or fewer and 8+ Ks. The most recent person with that exact line was Mark Buehrle in 2023. Brandon Morrow did it in 2021, and no one before Roy Halladay did it even this century. So some great stuff from Chris Bassitt, a historical performance for what it's worth. And the fact that he did it on only, 105 pitches too. He kept his pitch count very limited. That is some great work for Chris Bassitt. He's allowed 10 earned runs, period, since that blow up in St. Louis. So I think Chris Bassitt has been a stable force for our starting rotation when we've really needed a good, stable force for our starting rotation. So thank you, Chris Bassitt. Thumbs up from us.
Definitely doesn't get any better than that, Jesse. Hell of a performance for Chris Bassitt, man. I mean, hey, you could go a lot of different ways, Jesse. I mean, pitching aside, what about you? What hitter caught your eye in this series?
So I don't want to talk about the main superstars here, although they did do some damage in this series. Vladdy hit another home run, which was nice. Bo Bichette continued to hit. But I want to talk again about Whit Merrifield and specifically what he's doing on the base pass this year. He stole another base in this series, and he was moving up to 6th in the order after hitting 8th in game 1. And I just want to say, like, Whit Merrifield, without even really thinking about it, is on pace for a historical Blue Jays stolen base season. Like, he's on pace, Riley, to steal 48 bags this year at a quite impressive success rate as well. Riley, off the top of your head, do you know the last Toronto Blue Jay that stole 30 bags in a season?
Was it okay? So we haven't had speed guys in a long time. Right off the bat, I'm just going to throw out a name. In a total season, I think we got him at the deadline. My head says Ben Revere, but I mean, I don't think even with us, he got 30.
Yeah, it doesn't count. The last Blue Jay to do it was Jose Reyes in 2014, stole 30 plus bags. The last Blue Jay to steal 48 plus bags, which is what Whit Merrifield is on pace to, Shannon Stewart in 1998. It has been that long since the Blue Jays have had a pure good stolen base threat. And, stolen bases have kind of been out of the game. We've seen it a lot more of an increase this year, but I really think that is a weapon that John Schneider and a company can use, especially if he keeps hitting the ball well like he has. So I'm impressed again by Whit Merrifield. As Buck Martinez would say, this guy's a baseball player. Get him in your lineup every day. So I just want to throw some love to Whit.
He is really turning it back a little bit. We did not really know what to expect. I know it was kind of a weird feeling when we did get him at the deadline, around the deadline last year, what kind of Whit we were going to get. But hey, this is where he's really turning back the clock right now with that whippy base stealing ability, man. And he's looked good in the outfield as well. He's not afraid to, grow his game in a lot of different ways. Certainly, he's not accumulating hits as well as he used to, but that is okay. Whit Merrifield is still a very good corner outfield and second base. He is a guy who's going to be good for us. And hey, he's a complimentary piece, and he's a very good complimentary piece. Just at the start of the year, he wasn't really, throwing on the burners, so to speak. But as the last few series, man, he is attacking the base paths like crazy. And it's not because he has Ricky Henderson's speed. Whit Merrifield might be the smartest base stealer in all of Major League Baseball since 2016. And that is more opinionated than a fact. But you look at his numbers, they will back that up. Whit Merrifield, very smart on the base pass. And it's been a long time, and they're few and far between with the base stealers that the Toronto Blue Jays have had since their inaugural season. We just simply do not have a ton of guys who have stole a ton of bases. Like I said, we got a guy like Ben Revere when we were making that playoff push. We had Ricky Henderson for about 3 weeks. And it's like we haven't actually had a guy do this kind of stuff. Yes, Whit, maybe not one of our homegrown brews, came in from KC, but it's nice to have that piece on our team. It's certainly good just for versatility alone.
Yep, 90th percentile sprint speed for Whit Merrifield too, which has actually gone up over the last 2 years. So he's getting faster in his old age, which just seems wild to me, but good for you, Whit Merrifield. I also wanted to touch on our bullpen really quick because, the Jays' last 4 series have gone, we get swept, we sweep. We get swept, we sweep. So it's been, a hit and miss performance in the bullpen, but the bullpen, once again, was pretty good in this series. I'll just touch on some of the guys individually here. Jordan Romano was good. He bailed out Jimmy Garcia. Again, he got his 10th save of the season. John Schneider has actually pumped up Erik Swanson. You and I have talked quite a bit about Erik Swanson on this podcast. We thought he's been really good. If you look at his season numbers now, 20 innings pitched, he's got a 1.33 ERA, a whip of 0.7, a strikeout per 9 over 11. We cannot overstate how good Erik Swanson has been for this team. And then I want to talk a little bit about game 3 today when Yusei Kikuchi wasn't at his best. He kind of struggled, but the Blue Jays got 5 shutout innings and 1 hit baseball from Anthony Bass, Jay Jackson, Trevor Richards, and Nate Pearson. So going into the big series, 4-game series against the Yankees, that means Tim Meza, Jimmy Garcia, Erik Swanson, and Jordan Romano should all be locked in and ready to go, setting us on the right foot. So the back end of our bullpen did good things, as well as the front end of our bullpen doing good things in this series. So do you have a quick note on that, Riley, before we move on to the thumbs down?
Hey, we'll get more into game 3, but I was quite worried just on, like you said, win probability all over the places. And yeah, it's hard to always trust your bullpen. And when you do trust the bullpen, it feels good. I think this series sets me up against the Yankees. It sets me up that when our starter gets taken out of the game, I'll have a little more faith in it. I like to go off past performance, especially with, relief pitching. Starting pitching, I'd be more apt to go based off reputation and things like that. But for relief pitching, latest performance is the thing that speaks.
It's because performance for relief pitchers are so volatile. One big blow up, or a lot of the time it's a feel thing with your relievers, right? How good they're going, how good they're not going. What have they done for you lately? How good does their stuff look is pretty much how it goes with your relief pitcher. And I'd say right now, the Blue Jays look pretty good. Moving on to thumbs down now, Riley, because there were some negatives, even though the Blue Jays did get a sweep here. And I want to talk a little bit about the performance of 2 of our hitters who have been struggling, especially in the month of May. And that is Matt Chapman and that is Alejandro Kirk. If If you look at Matt Chapman for the month of May, he only has 2 extra base hits, and they were both when I was in Pittsburgh. In fact, he's hitting just 190, 227, or 277, 238 slugging percentage, a WRC plus of just 49 in the month of May. That was coming off in April where he was literally player of the month, and we knew regression was coming. We knew that he wouldn't hit that good, but it's all kind of seemed to hit him pretty hard here. So it'd be nice to see Matt Chapman get out of this little hole that he's been in. And Alejandro Kirk as well has also not really hit that well in the month of May. I know he's had a lot of soft contact ground balls to like the shortstop or the third baseman. In fact, he's just 3 for 25 this month. His line, 120 batting average, 241 on base, 160 for a 401 OPS. Tough streak for Alejandro Kirk. We've seen this in here. I guess, Riley, give me a level of concern for these two players, Alejandro Kirk and Matt Chapman, going forward.
Well, right off the bat, I mean, for me, let's start with my guy, Matt Chapman. When you start off the season as red hot as him, never like player of the month. That is what he was called. April's player of the month, Jesse. When you have those credentials, you've started off the season very, very good. And those numbers that are now with Matt Chapman in this halfway through May, I mean, it's a 5-6 concern for me, because now we're getting back into territories where we saw him struggle mightily at times with strikeouts, low batting average, and the really suppressed power numbers, because I think that was a big thing early on in this season for Matt Chapman, were the extra base hits, and they were in abundance. Now we're seeing, the run production just plummet. Which is very, very hard, especially with the guy who's currently hitting in the middle of this batting order, and rightfully so. Listen, he earned his spot there, but it's nothing is promised in Major League Baseball as far as where you sit in the order. And I mean, hey, Matt Chapman can do a lot of things right on the baseball diamond, and we know what he can do at the plate. That is for sure. But Jesse, we also know that he's prone to the strikeouts and just not getting on base. And he's hitting in the meat of this Blue Jays order that are an elite run producing team. We do have to get a little bit more out of Matt Chapman. This is certainly something you would call a slump. Now, as far as Alejandro Kirk goes, I'm honestly, listen, I'm a big believer that Alejandro Kirk has always been our future catcher.
Okay.
That was fun. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Now cut that part out, and then I'll just pick right up from Kirk. I got it right going right now.
Go ahead.
Okay. Jesse, as far as Alejandro Kirk goes, my concern levels are a bit less. This is a guy who was an all-star. This is a guy who put up amazing, tremendous bat-to-ball skills and still does. The problem is, I mean, he's got great hand-eye, great bat-to-ball skills, but they're not resulting in hard contact. There's not a lot of run. If you want a competitive at-bat against a major league hitter, look no further than Alejandro Kirk. This guy will give you a headache at the plate. He's got a smaller strike zone because of his stature. He's got a fairly good eye, and he can foul pitches off till Christmas. Alejandro Kirk is a better defensive catcher than most. I think he's been fairly average this year, and at times have been very good. He's, a negative base runner, but you'll expect that out of a catcher, and I don't really care about the base running from a catcher. When you put it all together, every facet of the game of what a catcher should be, you're really looking for a guy like Alejandro Kirk. It kind of stinks, though, because we've seen him strike balls really hard into the field, all fields at that. We've seen him go opposite. We've seen him pull balls down the line. So you would really like to see his run production go up. I think that's where a lot of his value goes because of how often he makes contact with the baseball, Jesse. So I would say my contact for Kirk at this point is if I say Chapman's a 6, I'll say that I'm a 4 for him. So if you combine it, I'm about half fully concerned to none concerned at all. If we're going 10 and 10 scale, increase that to 20. 6 plus 4, I do the math, it equals 10. So I'm about halfway if you combine both of them, Jesse. These are two guys that are great at what they do. If you can't look through Major League Baseball rosters and talk about the best players at each position right now and not talk about Matt Chapman at third and not talk about Alejandro Kirk behind the plate. These two are fantastic ball players. And you know what? Slumps are slumps. let's just make them slumps, not make this
Right.
season-long droughts.
Your math checks out, Riley. It is impeccable. I will say, Kirk, there are still some good things under the hood. He's still walking more than he's striking out. He's still not swinging and missing much when he does swing. It's just you nailed it. There's not been much hard contact at all. Bottom 5% in the league in exit velocity, and like pretty terrible unexpected Woe Bacon. So that's your expected WOBA on contact has been quite bad. But again, last year, Riley, Alejandro Kirk got off to a really poor start too before he finally turned it on and was one of the Blue Jays' best hitters for months. So let's see more of that going forward. Riley, you wanted to talk about some of the effort the Blue Jays were putting together in Game 3 today. So go on, give us some details about that.
I really listen. Like they say, you know, talent's the floor and character is the ceiling, and I believe that to an extent. I mean, you could be the biggest jerk in the world and hit 60 home runs and no one really cares, but that's not happening in this case. I mean, we're playing in the toughest division in all of baseball. There's a game there. I mean, the Rays won again today, by the way, against the Yankees to extend their division lead to something ridiculous. I mean, we're in a
6 games.
Well, you can't even say we're in a dogfight. We're in an absolute zoo of a division, and we have to be trekking, man. And you said it first. Before I talk about the bat, I want to talk about a guy like Kiermaier, who has hustled balls, has turned two singles into 2 doubles in the past, like, short little while. And it just shows you the heart of some players. And I want to address 2, and that's a play that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. made and Bo Bichette when they were at the plate in Game 3. The first occurrence was Bo Bichette hits a fly ball, pretty shallow, and he just dogged it out of the box. I mean, pretty much, I don't know, can't remember who exactly it was. 2 fielders collide, and that ball drops.
Mm-hmm.
That ball dropped, Jesse, and I mean, then he starts to hustle after because he realized, oh shoot, and that's fine. Whatever, that will happen. That's a lapse, and John Schneider can have his way with Bo Bichette. That's a one little bad thing, but he double screwed up, in my opinion, when he tried to stretch that air into 2 bases, and he got thrown out at second. So not only did you dog out a fly ball, you also looked ridiculous trying to redeem yourself and then get thrown out. I mean, that's how do you win ball games, Jesse? You get runners to cross home plate, and at that point in the ball game, when we're scrounging for base runners, I know Bo Bichette's trying to be aggressive, but the point is, Jesse, if he's running that ball out anyways, even if it isn't what his pace was, I'm not saying you don't have to sprint, but what he did, you kind of frustrated, throw the bat down, whatever you want to do. Those sort of things happen, and it bit him in the butt. I'm sure he got a talking to, and he should have. The second one, man, let's bring it back. Bottom of the 9th inning of this ball game. Starting off the inning, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Right off the bat, what do you think? I mean, that's a good way to start. We're down by 1 run in the bottom of the last inning. Vladdy hits one to right center field. Hey, I thought the ball went out too.
Yeah,
I thought the ball went out too, but he didn't. It looked like it, Jesse, because he sold it to us, because we're watching in TV land and we can't see the exact, where the ball's going. I mean, you can hit when Bo Bichette hit that ball 460 feet. Admire that, pimp that home run, so to say. But when you hit a little wall scraper, you got to run that out, man. That's a critical part in this game where we clearly need base runners. We're talking about the meat of our batting order coming up after Vladdy too. Well, Vladdy is the meat, but we got some bacon behind him that can drive in some runs. And it's like you have to not do that, man. If he hits that ball over 420 feet, yeah, admire that, man. But when you're not sure, because I don't know if he really wasn't sure. We've seen it happen, man. Like, it happens all the time. It's a showman game. I get it. I do like that part of the game when a guy hits a no-doubter, keyword no-doubter, and watches it go. But, Jesse, when we're talking about line drives that aren't getting over the right center field wall, and you're standing on first base in a critical situation with the game on the line, that kind of thing can't happen. I like to see hustle. I like to see heart, man. It's frustrating to watch. I thought the baseball gods were going to punish us for Vladdy doing that. We were lucky to walk out of there with the win. Am I happy we got the win? Absolutely. But I mean, I hope that the gods weren't watching, because that is a play where we could have easily been punished. And we look back at that and say, man, if he ran that ball out, this could have happened. And then you start to run to scenarios. But I just had a little gripe with that. Listen, I would be lying if I said like everyone had to be like Charlie Hustle, that Pete Rose, and try and run everything out like that. Like, hey, I get it, but just the lackadaisicalness on those two specific plays. That, I mean, one resulted in an inning ending, and the other one, I mean, was the first play of the inning that could have had bigger implications had we not rallied against Raciel Iglesias and really won that ball game based off the fact that we are the Toronto Blue Jays and we have a lot of great hitters on that team. Just a thought, Jesse. I'd just like to see, a little more character, clause, and hustle.
I think the thing that bothers us the most too is that those are things you can control. Those are effort plays, right? And you want to see the guys put the best effort forward every time they're on the baseball field. Kevin Kiermaier has got, I think, 2 doubles so far this year, where it's just been little plays like that where he has been hustling out of the box and it's been working for him. So we kind of hope, hey, maybe Kevin Kiermaier pulls these young kids aside, because this is what he's on the team to do, right? Be a leader. Tell these kids, get them to play the right way, because we've seen it. We've talked about it already this year. The AL East is a battle right now, and all these wins, especially against a good Atlanta team, are going to matter so much more. So you don't want to lose a game because Vladdy should be at second base, but because he didn't hustle, he's still at first base, right? You want to do the right things. You want to do all the little things to make things happen and go well. So let's see if John Schneider talks to them, or let's watch for that going forward to see if Bo or Vladdy do anything more of that, or if they can get better going forward here, Riley. Riley, I don't have much else to add. Yusei Kikuchi and Jose Barrios were kind of mixed here today. Yusei Kikuchi did give up a lot of hard contact, but he was still striking a lot of guys out. And I'll admit, I didn't watch Jose Barrios start. I've looked at the data afterwards. It just seemed like, hey, some more Jose Barrios stuff. Do you have a quick thought on any of those two before we move on to your little game you wanted to play here?
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's those are starts that we were sure were going to happen. I mean, let's be honest, Jesse. I said this before the show. Kikuchi, I felt okay about, but when Barrios went out there and was giving up runs and a lot of base runners in the first inning within the first 6 outs of the ball game, that's where I have my big problem. Is when it seems like when Barrios starts off cold, there is no redeeming that start. Like, the start is lost as soon as multiple runners start to cross home plate in an inning. For me, that's how I feel about Barrios. He did hold it down a little bit better than what I thought, but at the end of the day, he's got to just come out of the gate a little bit better, man. I mean, the Braves are a fantastic team. In my opinion, they are the best team in the National League East. I mean, it's close. That's another very good division in the MLB. But, I mean, Barrios got to just be tighter, man. He's got to lock it down. He's got to be able to, face the order twice with a little less error in his game, and that's at least go 5 innings of 2-run ball and not give up 3 runs in 2 innings and make our stomachs turn and make us real worried about how the rest of this ball game is going to go.
I agree. So let's move on, Riley, to your little game you wanted to play here. You got something fun for us for our 100th episode of Buds and Blue Jays. So take it away. What do we got to know?
Jesse, I got a lot of stuff, man. Let's put it this way. Jesse, with all the offense, man, because that's really what won us the series. A perfect segue into this is offense, man. Our offense has been absolutely fantastic this year. And in my head, I was thinking today to myself, Jesse, I thought there's no way our team doesn't walk away with a couple of silver sluggers this year. Okay. I mean, the way Bo Bichette has hit as a shortstop, Matt Chapman has hit as a third baseman, and Vladdy on first base. There are a lot of good first basemen in baseball, but Vladdy could turn it on in a moment's notice. So, Jesse, my little questions, my little game, whatever. I know recent history, a little more fresh in your mind, but I want to go back to a simpler time. I like to call it the turn of the century.
Okay, yeah.
Coming in 2000, Jesse, when steroids were abundant, baseball was fun. Pitchers threw 7 or 8 complete games in a year, and guys were hitting 58 bombs. Things like that. I want to know, Jesse, because you know this era just as well as I do, man. I want you to name me every silver slugger that we've had, and I will give you help if you need it, but I want you to guess who our silver sluggers have been on this Toronto Blue Jays team starting in 2000 And moving up, you might get better as the years go on. But Jesse, I feel like this is a game you can do. You're kind of crafted to do it in a sense. And let's see how you do. Let's starting with the year 2000, Jesse.
This is a
in
lot.
2000,
Riley.
we had one Silver Slugger in 2000, Jesse. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, this one will start pretty easy for you, Jesse.
It's got to be Carlos Delgado in 2000.
It is.
Right?
It totally is Carlos Delgado in 2000. It totally is Carlos Delgado in 2000. And in 2003, I'll give you this. Carlos Delgado won another Silver Slugger in 2003 and was joined by another Blue Jay in 2003 as a Silver Slugger. Who was this Toronto Blue Jay?
Was that Vernon Wells, or was that still too early for Vernon Wells?
It was certainly a very young Vernon Wells in 2003 capturing a Silver Slugger.
Let's go.
If you can believe it. And then after that, I don't know if that was his only one. He went on to win a ton, dude. And then
he was good.
We come into a time, Jesse. We call this time 2009. And we get some really obscure ones. Our Delgados are gone. Our Vernon Wells are wearing out. And this is before our big wave of our fan favorite kind of guys, Jesse. We got two Silver Sluggers in the year of 2009, Jesse. I just want to see if you can guess them without any hints. What do you think?
Troy Gloss is the first name that comes to mind for me. Did he win a Silver Slugger? I know he had a bunch of home runs for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know if that was the year, though. I might have been
He was out of Toronto by 2009. Okay. The player you were looking for is not a third baseman on either end.
John Buck was an all-star, I think, that year, maybe. Did he win a Silver Slugger? I know
John Buck was an all-star, I believe, in 2009 or 2010. I think what you're looking for a righty and a left-handed bat here. One of these players was an all-star as well.
Adam Lind and Aaron Hill won Silver Sluggers that year.
How did you just come up with that just like that? What a great thought there. That is one of the weirdest ones you could possibly get. Then it's the year 2010, Jesse. Who was it?
That was Jose Bautista's 54 home run season. So that one we know.
Yes, and he absolutely went on to dominate after that, winning 3 in the next 4 years, I believe. And then after that, we get a little bit more gentle, Jesse. I'll give you some gentler times here. It's 2015. We had one Silver Slugger. Any idea who that could have been?
That was Donaldson's MVP year, so that would have been him.
That was certainly Donaldson's MVP year. He would go on in 2016 to capture a Silver Slugger as well in the following year. And we had a lonely Silver Slugger Award winner in 2020, the COVID-shortened season, and I think you know exactly who this is.
That was Teoscar Hernandez, who won back-to-back ones in 2020 and 2021. We've mentioned that one on the podcast before.
Absolutely, it was. And can you tell me, Jesse, which two teammates joined Teo in receiving those Silver Sluggers in 2021?
Alejandro Kirk had one last year, and oh god, why am I drawing a blank on this last one? Bo Bichette didn't get one. Oh, Marcus Semien had a Silver Slugger that year.
So yes, you actually went up to get Alejandro Kirk in 2022, but in 2021 there was some. Yes, and so you're missing one guy, and the only guy that you're missing, you're not really missing him. If I go and say who won a Gold Glove, or sorry, Silver Slugger.
Oh, that's Vladdy.
Yeah, which is a no-brainer. It should honestly go without saying, Jesse, in all honesty. Now, the other one, I wanted to do a quick little one, and that's, Jesse, can you name me 3, count them, 3 players that have hit a home run in the All-Star game? As a Toronto Blue Jay.
In the All-Star game, eh? Wow. I know Vladdy did it in Coors Field. He had a massive one, so that's one. Did Carlos Delgado ever get a home run in the All-Star game?
Carlos Delgado did never hit a home run in the All-Star game.
It's going to be an obscure one, like Scott Rowland maybe might have done it. Did Alex Rios hit a home run maybe?
No, he did not.
Shooting up blanks here.
No, but to your credit, Troy Glaus had a double in the All-Star game. And let me
Sure.
change that. There has been I read this wrong. There's only one other Blue Jay that has hit a home run in an All-Star game, Jesse. And I'll put it like this. This is going back to our glorious days in the early 90s.
Oh, okay. So Roberto Alomar is my first thought. And if it wasn't him.
And that is the correct answer
there
there. Robbie Alomar in the 93 All-Star game hit a solo home run. I thought I read that wrong and I was super excited. I thought I read it that Alex Rios hit a home run in the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
I was mistaken, and I would have been super happy about that because I loved a good right fielder, Jesse. I mean, I could go on tons of things to talk about as far as that. But I got another cool one. I want to go on some weird years, Jesse.
Yeah, yep.
Weird years. We talked about the show. We talked about Jesse how you do F War and I do reference war, which is totally fine. But I dug out some really obscure ones, Jesse, for you here, and it's just years, but the highest war accumulated as a Blue Jay in that season. And I found a couple of years that'd scratch your head. And the first one I would start at would be 2013, but I know you're just too smart for me to fool you on that one, because 2013, I think we've talked about this multiple times, who had a monster year.
2013 off the top of my head, that's I actually don't know if I know this one. That was Bautista, who had a bunch of monster seasons, but to lead the team in war, man,
really one of my favorite guys. It was a really weird season. Best postseason player in MLB history.
Did Colby Rasmus lead the team in WAR that year?
In 2013, with a 5.0 WAR, if you can believe it, man.
5 WAR.
I don't know what your F WAR has, but I'm sure it's pretty close. I think he had a great year. No, I had a great one, and it was 2004 of all years. You could look back at the team, and there was a lot of good young Jays players, and he was one of them, Jesse, who led our team in WAR in 2004. And if you know this, if you're a listener or a viewer, then good for you. Because if I was to guess, I would have named 15 ball players before this guy. I don't want to bury any leads, Jesse, but do you have any idea who it might be?
2004, I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to go Eric Hinske. I'm going to say that was his rookie year where he won Rookie of the Year. Am I close?
You're quite close. I'll give you this. Eric Hinske, I believe, won it in 2002, and this is 2004. I think Hinske would have played okay, but we're looking at another infielder, Jesse, another infielder.
2004. That was it Orlando Hudson?
It certainly was Orlando Hudson, the switch hitting second baseman. Oh, dog. Who would have thought that? I personally would have. If I look back at that era, I would have expected. Oh, here was the problem, Jesse. I remember this. I think if you look at it, we don't have time to look at it, but I think in 2004, Halladay was injured because he absolutely had the best stats of that era.
Correct.
If it wasn't for maybe a Vernon Wells popping up here and there as well. But just on another one, before the really good times, Jesse, could you name me, the WAR leader for 1989? This is a stretch. This isn't a weird one, Jesse. This is just who came there before we really took off. This is brand new Sky Dome era. This is everything around that.
I'm gonna guess Fred McGriff.
Hey, you're great, man. That's a hell of a guess, and you absolutely nailed it.
Let's go.
He had a 6.6 wins above replacement, and before that, a 6.2. There's a ton of same names here. Just to point some out, we had Roger Clemens for a bit. He accumulated a 12.1 WAR in 1997. We've had some pretty legendary players come through this team, and then we've had some obscure ones that are not good. Randall Grichuk, highest wins above replacement with 2.5 in 2018.
Gross.
Yikes, Jesse.
Yeah, yikes.
That is yikes, my guy. And then, of course, we get guys you can pick anyone from Whamco to play from 91 to 93 that were just ridiculous. And that obviously being our best team managed by the best manager of all time. But hey, that's pretty much, I could go on, and I've got a bunch of stuff on my phone, but Jesse, I'm sure we're almost out of time anyways. Just wanted to get something fun for the viewers to hopefully play in, Jesse. 100 episodes, man. Like, how cool is that? I mean, I didn't think we'd make it past 15. I thought I would just get bored and give up. Who are we kidding? But we're here. And like, we started off, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say ever camera shy, but we certainly have figured out some sort of recipe for at least 6 or 7 people to watch us. And it's a lot of fun, man. If we had, like, if it was just for my own reference, I hate the sound of my own voice, but I'd listen to you talk about baseball forever. And you can tell for those listeners and those viewers, I would never rehearse a quiz with Jesse because I love to stump this guy. Jesse knows his freaking baseball. When I thought I got him with 1989, but he knows that Fred McGriff, you know, and now rightfully in Cooperstown and his era of Toronto Blue Jays. So yeah, the future, the present, the past, the Blue Jays, it's all so much fun, man. Baseball's fun. I also just want to throw out that I've completed my umpiring course. I'm officially an umpire.
Thumbs up to
Jesse's
you, Riley.
Season is getting underway. Like, there's just man, 100 episodes, and there's just so much fun baseball stuff going on right now. I don't know what's next, Jesse. I don't care what's next.
Here's to 100 more.
I love doing it. We just love doing it.
Here's to 100 more of Buds and Blue Jays. Thanks for sticking with us a little longer on this episode. We want to do something a little different, a little fun. If you like what you're seeing here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, right? You can say we're with us. We're only going to go up from here, Riley. So let's keep this thing going. Turns out we know a little thing about this game of baseball that we all love or so. But that'll do it for episode here today, guys. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. You can download, share, follow us on all the social media platforms. We're everywhere. You can find your stuff. We're passionate Blue Jays fans. Big series coming up against New York as we continue the homestand. Maybe I'll even get down to Rogers Center for one of these games of this series. If so, we'll see you there. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you later this week.
Thanks so much, guys, and happy Mother's Day.
Of course, yes.